You're not needed here anymore, so just leave. I froze, hearing the words come from my mother-in-law. Why would you say that after everything I've done for this family? I asked, my voice trembling with disbelief. This house is enough for us. I'm going to live here with my son and the others. You've done your part, and it's time for you to go, she said coldly. I stared at her, then at my husband, hoping for some defense, but he nodded as if it was a reasonable suggestion. I worked hard for 15 years to save and buy this place, I said, my voice rising. I chose a big condo specifically so we could all live together because she wanted to move in. Don't take it personally, my husband said. Your job here is done. Thanks for everything. Are you serious? I looked him in the eye, struggling to keep my emotions in check. Of course, if you don't want to leave, we can just get a divorce, but make it quick. It was in that moment I realized the depth of my mistake, trusting this man and his family. Any lingering hope vanished. Understood, I said, my voice icy. If that's how it is, I'll leave. Leave right now. Then, my mother-in-law sneered, her lips curling into the ugliest smile I'd ever seen. It'll be a relief not to see your face again. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I simply made up my mind. I sold the high-rise condo immediately, leaving them to deal with the fallout of their entitlement. A few years earlier, things had been so different. My name is Sandra, and I turned 39 this year. I've been married to Robert for 4 years. We first met as colleagues, though we weren't particularly close back then. It was 4 years ago when fate brought us together again. Huh, Sandra, is that you? I turned and saw him standing there, looking genuinely surprised. Robert, long time no see. What are you doing here? Actually, he said with a sheepish smile, I just quit my job today. Quit? Why? It's time I chased a dream I've always had. You remember how I used to draw cartoons, right? Well, I finally made my debut. Seriously? That's amazing! Back then, I didn't feel anything special for him, but his enthusiasm and confidence were infectious. Later, I learned he'd started his own business after leaving the company. Not long after, he asked me out. If you're okay with it, why don't we date? He said one evening. That's sudden, I replied, caught off guard. I think we're really compatible, he said, his sincerity shining through. His confession surprised me, but it didn't feel bad. I was nearing 35 and had been considering marriage. I'm at the age where I want to settle down, I admitted cautiously. Then let's get married, he said with a grin. What? Really? Before I knew it, I'd said yes. Everything moved quickly, but I felt optimistic about our future together. At first, it was wonderful. Robert understood my demanding career and took care of the household chores when I was busy. We were a team, or so I thought. However, cracks began to appear over time. 3 years into our marriage, I started thinking about buying a home. I've been considering getting a place of our own, I said one evening. That sounds great, Robert replied, but his expression grew hesitant. What is it? Well, is there any way my mom could live with us? His mother had been struggling since losing her husband 2 years prior, and I sympathized with her loneliness. Though hesitant, I agreed. It will take time to build a house, though, I said. Maybe we should look for a condo instead. Robert's relief was palpable. Thank you. Just agreeing to this means a lot. After a month of searching, I finally found the perfect place, a spacious high-rise condo that could comfortably accommodate us all. This is it, I told Robert, showing him the brochure. His eyes lit up. A luxury high-rise? Mom will be thrilled. At first, living together wasn't too bad, but within months, My mother-in-law's behavior shifted dramatically. Sandra, could you clean my room? My back hurts, she said one morning. I'm sorry, Mom, but I have to work right now, I replied. Her tone turned sharp. Work? You just stay in your room all day while Robert does all the housework. Stop making excuses and just do it. I was stunned. Her previous kindness was gone, replaced by relentless criticism. Reluctantly, I cleaned her room, hoping it would end there. But it didn't. Can't you clean faster? She snapped when I finished. And make sure you do it regularly from now on. I bit my tongue, but the resentment was building. When I told Robert, he promised to talk to her. I'll handle it, he assured me. For a while, things improved. Then, one evening, I came home to find unfamiliar shoes at the door. I overheard voices as I approached the room. Where's Sandra today? Oh, she's at a meeting. It's amazing, though, she's become a successful cartoon artist at her age. Yeah, it's impressive. Why do you sound so proud? It was Robert's sister, Christina, visiting for the day. Just as I was about to enter, their conversation continued, stopping me in my tracks. By the way, Mom, you've been quieter lately. Oh, it's more entertaining to knock her down when she feels secure, isn't it? Robert, you agree, right? Well, if she can't work anymore, it would be a problem, right? Sandra's the one bringing in money for us. After all, I froze. The words hit like a slap in the face. My husband and mother-in-law, plotting together. From that moment, life at home became unbearable. Did you bring up that work thing? Robert asked one evening. I didn't think it was necessary. You always do this, his mother scolded. What are you talking about? Christina asked, her voice innocent. I didn't understand either, but Robert's confession soon cleared the air. Actually, the company I was running went bankrupt shortly after we got married. What? You never told me that. That's terrible, Christina exclaimed. I've been through a lot, Robert replied nonchalantly. When I suggested living with Mom, I didn't expect Sandra to pick such an upscale condo. His words felt like daggers. He had lied to me, hidden the truth, and acted as though everything was normal. Anger and regret consumed me. If only I had seen the signs earlier. A few days later, as I returned home, I overheard another conversation. Maybe it's time, Robert said. Time for what? Christina asked. That's for another time, he replied casually. Unable to listen any longer, I stepped into the room. Their shocked faces greeted me. You startled me. You should have said you were back, Robert stammered. I did. Maybe you were too busy conspiring, I retorted, my voice cold. I stayed long enough to exchange polite conversation before Christina left. As she stepped out, I stopped her. Thanks for coming today. Did you enjoy yourself? Yes, she replied nervously. I decided to give her a warning. Christina, don't trust them too much. Her expression turned pale as she grasped my meaning. After that day, Christina never visited us again. Determined to take control, I began observing Robert. One morning, I followed him as he left for work. Instead, I found him idling at a park before heading to a casino. I took photos, knowing they might prove useful later. At home, my mother-in-law's insults continued. Who made this awful meal? Did you put poison in it? She sneered. Her cruelty fueled my determination. Unsure of my next steps, I called my mother for advice. Sell the condo, she suggested. It's in your name, right? They depend on it. Losing their comfortable home would hit them where it hurts. The idea was tempting. I started imagining their reactions, and for the first time in a while, I smiled. One evening, after dinner, Robert and his mother summoned me. "You're no longer needed here," my mother-in-law announced bluntly. "Excuse me?" I asked, stunned. "We're moving Christina and the others in. Your role here is finished," Robert added smugly. "Fine," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "If that's how you want it, let's get divorced." They looked surprised but quickly recovered, smirking as if they'd won. "Fine, leave right now," Robert sneered. Packing only the essentials, I walked out. As I reached the door, I turned to them one last time. "Handle the divorce papers yourself. Oh, and the condo? You can take care of it." Without waiting for a response, I left, their stunned faces a satisfying last image. The weight lifted as I stepped into the night. It was over. Finally, I was free. I decided to return to my parents' home. "I'm on my way," I told them. "So, you've made your decision?" my mother asked. "Yes, I might be a bit of a burden for a while. Your father and I are here for you. Take your time coming back." At home, my parents welcomed me with their usual warmth. Seeing their familiar faces, I felt a profound sense of relief. "Welcome back. I'm home. It's been a while. Take it easy today." "Thank you." That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in ages. The next day, I wasted no time. I prepared the divorce papers and headed straight to a real estate agent. It was better to sell the condo than leave it to my husband and mother-in-law, who had no income and would struggle without a home. "This condo is in high demand. We should find a buyer quickly," the agent said. "That's good to hear. Please take care of it. Consider it done." A month later, the agent informed me that a buyer was interested. By that time, I had finalized the divorce. My ex-husband and mother-in-law, still living there, were now strangers to me. "The potential buyer wants to view the property soon," the agent said. "Got it. Can I be there for the showing? That would be very helpful. Please join us." The day of the showing arrived. As I opened the front door, Robert burst out. "Hey! Who let you in? Who are these people?" Apparently, he hadn't noticed me yet. I stepped forward. "Long time no see." "Huh? Why are you here?" he demanded. "Funny you should ask. After all, this condo is in my name." "What?" His confusion was evident. "Don't you get it? This place isn't yours to claim." "That can't be true," he stammered. At that moment, my mother-in-law appeared, her timing perfect for a confrontation. "Hey, what are you doing causing a scene in someone else's home? Don't just barge in here. I could call the police on you," she shouted. "That should be my line. You two have no right to live here. Talking nonsense won't help you. This place belongs to us." I sighed at their stubbornness. "Could you please leave this house immediately? You're disrupting the viewing." "Viewing? Why would there be a viewing?" "Because I've put this condo up for sale. Like I said, I bought this place. I own it." Robert's face turned red with anger, but comprehension still eluded him. "Even if what you're saying is true, where are we supposed to live?" "Why don't you go back to your parents' house?" I replied coolly. "We tore down that old house." "Oh, that's unfortunate," I said, feigning concern. Robert lunged at me, but I dodged, and he stumbled dramatically. Everyone, except my mother-in-law, burst into laughter. "If you don't want me to call the police for trespassing, leave now. You're in the way," I said firmly. Robert, looking defeated, knelt down and begged. "We were wrong. Please forgive us." "Mom, apologize to her too." "Why should I?" his mother snapped. "Apologizing won't change anything. Now, can you just disappear from my sight? I won't ask again." Dragging his mother by the hand, Robert fled like a defeated animal. Watching them leave brought an unexpected sense of relief. The viewing proceeded smoothly, and the sale was finalized. I informed them they needed to remove their belongings from the condo. That was my final act of leniency. Later, Christina, my sister-in-law, called. "What's going on with my mom and Robert?" she asked. Curious, I listened as she explained their situation. They were now living in a tiny, one-room apartment. "I warned you not to trust them," I said. "I've definitely learned my lesson," she replied. Christina had taken my advice and cut ties with them, which explained her absence during the viewing. "From now on, it's best to keep your distance," I advised. "Agreed," she said. Not long after, Robert contacted me again. "Can you lend me some money?" "Just a little. That's your fault for gambling and accumulating debt. I found debt collection letters addressed to you, and I had someone follow you when you lied about having a job. I'm working seriously now, but I still have debts. It's hard to make ends meet," he pleaded. "That's not my problem. Oh, and could you pass a message to your mother? Tell her she got what she deserved." I hung up immediately, knowing they would likely face even tougher times ahead. Reflecting on everything, I realized this experience might make for an intriguing story, perhaps even the subject of my next comic project.